That's fair. No, it's not.
Do you need this? Can you all hear me if I do not use this?
Yeah.
So if I talk normally, you cannot?
What?
Just use the mic.
Okay, I will need the mic now. Dumb.
There's no mic for it.
So no, I apologize. I am coming down off of watching the Fursuit parade. You guys were all, who was in the parade? Anybody? You were all wonderful. Did any of you do the meet and greet afterwards? There were about 500 children. And they were wonderfully behaved, and their parents were keeping track of them. I was wondering if I had fallen into a different reality. And they walked up to Tien Long. Does anyone know who Tien Long is? The celestial sky dragon? And they all walked up and went, Kitty. Kitty!
Oh, no.
Because I am evil.
Oh, really?
And he enables a badger.
So for those of you who don't know, and this is pretty easy, one of Boozie's children is in the audience.
Oh, Joey.
And she LARPs with us, and she is the evilest little murder hobo I have ever made. And the fact that the players at Fables love her so much that we are currently holding a lottery to determine which cabin she's in.
Oh.
She backstabbed, assassinated a plot-armored character.
We're going to explain all this starting in approximately now. So, hi, welcome to Stories of Other Worlds. This is actually Alkali's panel, but he's running late, which means I'm taking over with Sparf, because Sparf was originally supposed to be here too. I am, for a short introduction, my name is Ash Veliska. I am the program director of Anthrocon, and I'm actually attending a panel that I'm running. This is weird. I've been LARPing with the Nero system for 5 years now, and I play primarily a Nero variant game based out of Boston called Fables of Fenora. It is basically Nero fixed because we all know Nero is a terrible system. Yeah. The Fables crew actually fixed it. It doesn't break at level 20. It breaks at level 1000.
It breaks whenever you get a hold of it.
I just say no a lot. But let's finish introductions and then we'll demonstrate. Your turn. Oh, I should say, in Core Nero, I play Rai Assassina, which translates from Sumerian to Servant of the Sacred Lion. I literally play the bodyguard for my one husband's lion character. He doesn't need a bodyguard. He just thinks my butt looks cute. And then in Fables of Fenora, my primary game, I play the Man of 1,000 No's.
No. I'm Sparf. I was skeptical of LARP for many, many years, and I finally allowed myself to be dragged up. And what I discovered was that I am really bad at hitting people with foam sticks. But I am really good at hitting them with packets of bird seed.
Did anyone actually understand that joke about birdseed first? Awesome. How many of you are LARPers? How many of you LARP Nero? Or have or know what it is, or did in the past? How many of you LARP Accelerant? Okay. How many of you do Mind's Eye Theater and play rock, paper, scissors and make me sad?
What?
How many of you know what LARP is? Who doesn't know what LARP is? Okay, we'll start with the question so he's caught up with the rest of the class.
Thank you.
LARP stands for live action roleplay. The shortest version of how to explain that is we basically make D&D, we basically play act out D&D and we were limited by our own physical limitations. That means if you actually can't dodge that hit, I'm sorry, that sucks.
That sounds like fun.
It is. There are multiple systems for LARP. We're going to tell a lot of our stories going to be based out of Nero or Accelerant. The system really doesn't matter for these stories because these stories are mostly about horrible things that have happened and we require your imagination. By the way, all of these stories are true and we have not changed the names because the guilty parties are sitting at the table. Mostly. Sparf's eventually going to cut me off from talking too much.
Oh no, I'm going to keep feeding you rope.
Yeah, because so I mentioned I play for Fables of Fenora. He actually writes for the game, which means anything I say now will be used against me in a court of law.
No, we don't let courts of law happen. Not after that one time.
That's because you let a human negotiate with a lion. It was a terrible idea because humans are dumb.
Okay, so I'm not going to vamp too much for Alkali will get here and then he will have some fun things to say. Mostly what we're going to do on this panel is tell you really screwed up stories from LARP. The thing I was just referencing, to give you an idea, the players were trying to unravel this criminal syndicate that had appeared in the village. The criminal syndicate, by the way, which appeared in the village after one of our players, a woman of Sicilian descent, really just wanted to go smoke. And the players captured her and tied her to a tree to interrogate her. And she kept saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Her inner monologue was, I just want to smoke. Oh God, I just want to smoke. I just want to smoke. And finally she said, you're going to have to kill me because I'm not going to betray the family.
Cue a bunch of players immediately going, oh, fuck. By the way,
We've discovered a criminal conspiracy.
The problem is it was entirely plausible that they would do that to us because they hate us.
In a loving way. So, the next event, they decide, no, we're going to wrap this up quick. That same person, that same NPC goes out dressed. She's dressed in a very particular way. She's dressed in a green dress and a white tunic. And she goes in, oh, help me. There are brigands. They're broken into my house. And they're fighting each other. Help me. And the players, being dutiful murder hobos, go with the intent of helping. And they just, lay waste to the first group. Okay, right. She comes back again later in the event, which is, not uncommon. A hook will return and come back and back and back. Oh, help me. There are people killing each other over in this field. So players go. Well, this time, the lead NPC there is like, no, I'm going to parlay with them. They come up, what are you doing on this property? This is my house. I live here. You need to prove that. No, you're the one coming up to me. You need to prove that I don't belong here. Back and forth and back and forth. Finally, they kill the rest of us, kill him and start dragging him, then they life him, then they sleep him, then they drag him some more. They take him back to the tavern. When the sleep effect wears off, the NPC, Jeff, is sitting there listening to what's going on. When he counts down the timer for the sleep effect to wear off, he wakes up, and the first thing he hears is that one going, torture him for all I care. I just do whatever. And Jeff goes, nope. Jeff stands up, walks over to the door of the tavern, and walks out. None of them stopped him.
That's because everyone was busy bickering over the ethics of torture. So Spark just threw a lot of word salad at you of things of like sleep, binding, all of the stuff we do. So in LARP, we represent, our weapons are done of plumbing supplies, or yoga mats. Yoga mats are also popular. Or if you're like me, EV foam. And so that makes our weapons, and we hit people with them. And we actually hit them. Spells and things like that are actually done through little birdseed packets that are a 6-inch square piece of fabric filled with one tablespoon of birdseed, and then sealed with a rubber band. We throw those. By the way, you actually can't really hurt somebody unless you hit them in the face repeatedly, which I've done accidentally on purpose. Sleep is one of the many effects. Basically, you role play the fact that you're unconscious. We will pick you up and move you. You will help us move you because we are not deadlifting you. I'm sorry. It's hard to deadlift people.
Especially me.
But the ethics of torture in Nero, in the Fables of Fenora game, is fascinating. And we're going to tell you, the reason this story about torture them for all I care is we literally had just changed continents on our map. This game is an ongoing game. As time passes in the real world, time passes in the game. We're just not there for all of it. We literally changed continents and went from a continent where we were judge, jury, and executioner. There were no laws. It was great. It was awesome. We entered a town that had a set of laws and legal systems and a magistrate, and no one told us.
Oh.
We were very used to summary executions.
Yeah, they got a little too used to it at times.
The term murder hobo is what you call an adventurer in a LARP, because literally we are there to murder and steal from you.
So I can tell you an interesting, this was when I first joined the game. By the way, I'm Daet Wolfuar. I also have NPC'd in the same game that they did. there was an event going on where we had zombies and undead and everything like that, and someone unknown to them came into their tavern, came into the Adventurers Tavern where they all hung out in between adventuring. And I don't exactly know what they were thinking or if there was a thought process, but before this guy could even, like, speak or do much of anything, they killed him. They just straight up went, oh, that looks unfamiliar, stab, slice, bash.
So obviously it was not me, since I would never do that. I just say things like Iron Maiden.
Excellent! Which I want people to do that every time, but it has not caught on, unfortunately, because they're medieval.
We have a whole point for that story. But the other thing...
No, the point of this is they find out the person that they just killed after they, life him to resurrect him was a poor farmer begging the heroes for help on his farmstead. At least they brought him back to life, but we didn't let them, live that down for a while.
We never did. So I think a good thing to ask you guys, a lot of you play role-playing games and have role-playing, have had that moment. I think a good way, because we can prattle off your stories for hours. Give us a question about a type of story. We did this with bad con stories last night. It actually helped when the audience kind of gave us a theme for a story.
What is the shadiest thing you guys have ever done?
Oh, I want to tell. Can I tell Jack? I have to tell Jack. Okay. So, Fables of Fenora is a grim fantasy game set up in the fact that evil has already conquered the world and we are trying to survive. The chances of us actually winning and killing the big bad who has conquered the world are about 1 to a billion. I mean it. We actually know we're going to die. It's awesome. Everyone gets so emotionally invested. So there is a character in this game called Jack. Jack is awesome. Jack is an absolutely wonderful. Out of game, Jack is a wonderful person. In game, Jack has the polearm shoved so firmly up his ass and towards the path of goodness and righteousness that sometimes, yeah. So he decides, Jack gets involved in a little problem. A NPC comes into town, and I am the jeweler's apprentice, and he beats me. She's bruised and bloody. Our makeup crew is amazing. They did this amazing battered and bruised makeup. We all had to ask, do you actually have a black eye? We have a professional makeup artist on staff, by the way. So she does stuff like this for us. Jack, being the paragon of goodness, takes the woman's virtue, statement says virtuous. They break into the jeweler's house and they murder him. And they leave him for dead. Oh, and they light his house on fire. And they steal all his stuff. And the next day, one of the silversmiths comes and goes, I was supposed to have a meeting with the jeweler. He had a name. This was before I joined, so I don't know the story. I wasn't there for the story, but I got to watch it. The aftermath for years, still, forever. And what happened? And Jack realized, his apprentice came by. She's a liar and a thief. She just made off with what was left of his inventory. They murdered a poor innocent man, leaving behind a widow. According to the narrative of this game, a widow and 4 small children. That is the shadiest thing we ever did. And the problem is this man is still allowed to make moral judgments against everybody else.
These players are fascinating because they have learned a moral compass in my time NPCing. Unfortunately, what that means is that when I want them to kill things, they try to parlay with them. And when I want them to parlay, they kill them. I went and hooked them for a simple resource mod with a little bit of a plot. And they went down, and there was one of the NPCs outside as a troll, and they proceeded to parlay with the troll, put the troll to sleep, move it over outside, go inside, try to parlay with the trolls inside, who are like, you just put our friend to sleep. What you do? Eventually there was an attack, and I'm just sitting there going, would you just kill them? They're here to die. Eventually, Eventually, they do get the hint and start killing. And then the one outside that's asleep, they have a particular marking on their face. And one of the players is like, we need to examine this marking. Killing blow 1, killing blow 2, killing blow 3. I cut the face off 1, I cut the face off 2, I cut the face off 3.
We have a habit of collecting the faces of our enemies. We literally have an entire wall in our tavern decorated with the various masks and visages of our enemies that we have killed.
Heroes!
Yeah, literally. We cut off the faces of the big bad villains we fight and put them on a shelf.
Yeah, it's like they often start off as, Aragorn and Bilbo and things like that, and then slowly turn into the Hewitt family from Texas Chainsaw. It's kind of interesting. And I got to share one shady thing that I did to them because, we have a mechanic in the game. This is kind of a fun mechanic because if any of you have ever joined a LARP or role-playing game where you're having to start at level 1 or 2 and everyone else already has semi-godlike abilities, it can be kind of tough because I can't go on the adventure they're going on because I will die in 2 seconds. So we have something called the job board. The job board is specifically designed for 2 things. We post a bunch of different things up and we have fun with it. We put little subtle movie references in there or not so subtle movie references in there. It's designed where you can say, I want to do this job. And we'll go, okay, that's going to take 2 NPCs and a couple heroes of low level could take care of this. It's getting rid of brigands. It's negotiating something. It's this, that, or the other thing. And it actually works out really well. It helps people who are new level up. So I post on the job board. It was my job for a while to be the character who literally owned the job board. It was his enterprise, his entrepreneurial thing. So I post up a job that is just a simple, needs thief skills. Help me, I've locked myself out of my house. Please come and unlock the door for me. And we get one of our, and thankfully, it's one of our thief characters that, not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
We mentioned, when Spark was talking about 3 counts for things. Those are for actions that we physically cannot do. Like we are finally just putting the knife in on your head and cutting off your head and killing you. We are doing something to your body. We can't do that to our NPCs. But for lock picking at Fables, you actually have to do it.
Oh no.
He had to pick a 6-tumbler lock.
Yeah, there'll be a little padlock. You literally have lock-picking tools, and you just have to pick the lock within a time frame. Now, here's what happens. This thief comes out. I'm also playing. I put on a different shirt, and suddenly I'm the guy who's locked out of his house. So while he's picking the lock, I'm acting as shady as I possibly can. I'm looking around for other people. I'm tapping on things. I'm as I'm waiting for him to pick this lock. He picks the lock. In character, he walks off and just kind of leaves me to my house. So then, about half an hour to an hour later, I can't remember exactly how long it was, I come back in as Denny Kecklepenny with a new job for the board. Denny Kecklepenny is the character, the entrepreneur who's running the job board. I post something up that literally says, please help, someone robbed my house while I was gone. I don't know how they got in, but it looks like the lock was picked. Can someone help me find them?
Yeah.
Check your sources.
So, those are our shadiest. You had a story theme for us?
First, is there an alignment system in it?
No. See, so I should say that Fables, as I said, is a grim fantasy. We are ethically ambiguous. Heroic intentions are not entirely required, although they are mildly encouraged. But we don't have an alignment per se. It's what you choose to develop your character as. My character serves the greater good, and therefore I will do things that are questionable, such as I believe torture is a valid method of information gathering. Because it serves the greater good, I justify these things. My character is very absolute north on his morals, which confuses many people as to what he will do, what lengths he goes to achieve that goal. We have one character who, actually, my brother, who plays my younger brother, but he's my older brother in real life. He is the exact opposite. But everyone thinks he is the good one because he is the type of evil that looks the most like good. And I am the type of good that looks the most like evil. And so it took people 3 years, we've been playing for 6 now, to figure out that he is the one who will most likely stab them and bury them in a bush.
And also, I will add, there is not an alignment system. There is not a, you are neutral, good, lawful, evil, etc. There are, however, paths that characters follow. And you can get kicked off your path and lose some of the benefits that you gain for your path. Yes. Because there's the path of radiance, which has interesting logical quandaries because technically it is the good, light path, etc. But you can easily say, I will torture this one person to save 1,000. And technically, you are still acting in the best interests of good.
And I
so
did.
that's why the path is murky, if you will. There's also the path of shadow. That's of course your standard Slytherin. I'll do whatever it takes, whatever is necessary to achieve my goal. There's the path of magic. You're studying magic. That's kind of your thing. There is the path of
Chaos, which is undeath and chaos.
Pretty self-explanatory. And then I know there's a couple other paths I'm forgetting.
There's one you're forgetting. The path of nature.
Yes, path
Which
of
is
nature.
like you expect My Little Pony to explode everywhere, and its love makes the world go round, and peace and love and balance. It's also the scariest path when it comes to extra powers. But, yeah, so, Cat.
I've never heard of Fable before. Like, where do you guys
So-
play? I've never heard of it.
Sure, so Fables is a self-contained world campaign Nero variant hosted by Nero Boston, which my husband owns. Not this husband, our other husband, who is not here, or he would be sitting here.
Yes.
And it is hosted by Nero Boston, and they run in Wales out of Camp Eagles Pass. It's a new camp that opened that is a camp dedicated to LARPs. Also, if you decide you ever want to go, epicadventuresllc.com. Plug, because every one of, and I will say that we have furry races, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, does it have your attention now on possibly looking into this? We have furry races.
Now these they're technically lycanthropic race. I'm gonna give them the full skinny. They're lycanthropic races, but here's what it essentially boils down to. In the daytime, you range from mostly human to what's sometimes called demi, where you just have traits you can't get rid of your animal. And then at night, you put on the appropriate makeup or suiting or whatever, and you transform every night, it doesn't have to be the full moon, into the animal side. So it's kind of a neat for a fantasy world race and way to do it.
And they break into 4 categories. Earth sign? Yes, but all types of bears are allowed. Canine, foxes included. I don't know why they're not canines. Feline, the best choice, obviously. I'm a tiger. And the last option is avian. Only birds of prey does not mean you could do a penguin, even though a penguin is technically a bird of prey. I've had this argument for months. Because I wanted to build a second character who was a penguin, and they told me no. Because there's no... Huh?
We had a blue jay.
Blue jays are corvidae. They are birds of prey. I don't understand why, but they are technically corvidae.
They're mean.
So, going on with that, so have we confused you all with terminology yet?
Do you do
No.
fantasy animals?
No, just those 4 races for animal races. And we're boring people to death. No.
Or where people just have
I see people. So, we've thrown a lot of terms at you. Would you guys like to hear some of how terrible some of these things get?
Sure.
Because we've got a couple that are really bad. So I'm going to set you up for a story here. This is during one of my first events called the Season of the Dying, which happens yearly at Fables. It is the Halloween event, which is always nightmarish. It's the last event of the year because we do 4 events a year. And that event is called Hard Mode, because that is literally when the staff team goes, no, you had it too easy all year, now we're going to torture you. And they set the stage for how difficult the next year will be. So,
This is my first year playing. I am, due to some advantages of, things, slightly higher level than I should be. And we are doing an epic battle to liberate a city. There are 26
continents.
Well, yeah, but we're liberating a city first. Because the city is where all the people have been put. The short version is an entire race of people have been gathered into a single city so they could be slaughtered in mass genocide and use the power of ritual to turn someone into a greater undead. This just sounds bad. It is, especially when the character I'm playing, his older sister, is helping create the ritual. She's killing her own people.
She's basically a collaborator.
She's not a collaborator.
She's the cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we have, in this game, a set of powers that are based on crystals. And what is the worst thing you could... From fantastical creatures in history, what is the worst creature you could think to send out against people who like crystals? I'll give you a hint. They scream really loud.
Sorry.
Banshees.
Or alkaline
Because,
with that.
yeah.
Alkaline with a megaphone. No megaphone for alkaline.
Come on in.
No. So we send out. There's also a guy who's been accused of cheating at this event. Because every item you have in a LARP is usually inventory. There is a tag, a representation of something that says officially you possess this item. We have a guy who's using far more of those than he's supposed to be. So they send out, and he's using crystals. Magical crystals to do magical things. So they send out a banshee, and she starts making calls. By my voice, destroy all X. Where X is a type of crystal we commonly use, such as destroy all Celestines, which is a crystal we use to cause damage.
And by the way, this does not just include whatever's on your person, this includes whatever's in your stash back in your room. It's dust. It's gone.
They were, because this guy cheated. And now he no longer plays with us because he felt like we were persecuting him. I also was hurt by this because I play one of the crystal people. Then she starts calling out, destroy all emeralds. Okay, well, this isn't too bad. I don't keep a lot of those around. I look at him and he's going, fuck, 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 fuck. Those are his, no, you can't hurt me, no, you can't hurt me, magic shields, where you can't move, but nothing can hurt you, but you can't move. It's not helpful. It's very helpful if there are people nearby. Yeah, you're impediment, you can't be hurt. You can't move. It sucks.
It's a waiting game.
Yes, and it runs out in 10 minutes. But they can wait all day.
So it's a really bad waiting game.
Yes.
Especially when you're fighting enemies that technically the enemies don't need to sleep, eat, breathe, etc.
Yeah.
That sounds horrifying.
It's terrible. So delightfully horrifying. So she proceeds to destroy all of his crystals. And later, the second night, by the way, these events start Friday night at 10 p.m. And we don't stop or break character until Sunday at 2 in the afternoon. We eat, we sleep, we drink, we go to everything is in character. This magical fantasy world does have indoor plumbing and AC. I love our fantasy world. And so continuing on to the second night of this event, this is well before Smarf joined us actually. I'm going to fight, and I'm fighting this banshee because I somehow got separated from everybody, and myself and cheating McBastardface and I are stuck fighting the banshee one-on-one. Well, 2-on-1. Problem. We're crystal people. We rely predominantly on crystals for damage and healing. And she begins pulverizing our crystal supplies. Now, I mentioned those Celestines, they cause damage. They come in 3 sizes, small, medium, large. You would think when the banshee goes, shatter all Celestine, would you guys agree with me that that means small, medium, and large?
Yeah.
Yeah, we argued for 45 minutes if that destroyed all sizes or if she had to address a size.
Why?
Because this dude, not this dude, but the other dude who no longer plays really wanted to keep cheating.
Yeah, so I ended up dying and having to resurrect, which, by the way, in LARP systems for resurrection, for Fable specifically, the first 2 times you die, the universe lets you get back up for free without any risk of permanently dying.
You literally go into the world tree and come out in a fresh body.
In the 3rd time, you have to start pulling from a bag, which is 9 white stones and 1 black stone. You pull the black stone, you're dead forever. Every time you die afterwards, it becomes 1 less white stone and 1 more black stone. Or whatever color stones they have, but it's always 2 different color stones. The rule book officially says white and black stones, but it's whatever's there.
Basically, the cosmos and the world tree start going, okay, are you even trying to stay alive?
We have one person in game who is at 9 black stones and 1 white stone, and has been that way for the last 14 times he has died.
Jammy bastard.
He's not cheating. So that is one. No. You can't cheat because the staff actually set up the bag. There's no physical way to cheat. We've checked.
I could name 3.
So we should introduce Alkali now.
So now we're going to introduce Alkali. Who knows who Alkali is?
All right, you've got something there.
No.
I was busy and I stole this from Kage.
Alkali has been LARPing for longer than the 3 of us put together, times 4.
I have played LARPs for most of my life. I actually am one of the rarities. I believe one of you has this honor too. I started at LARP before I did tabletop. So I did Nero before I played D&D, which made D&D very weird because we're rolling dice and I just want to punch my best friend. So it was fun for me.
You mean I can just sit down and roll a dice instead of actually running to the other end of the field and hitting the guy?
I used to be skinny, then I found D&D.
Story of a lot of geek lives.
Right?
It gets really awkward when you start grabbing a spatula and hitting the person on the other side of the table.
It's only awkward if they're not your boyfriend. And you didn't use the spatula for pancakes. Now he has a syrup fetish. So anyway.
As you do.
Because of my time, the story I always like to start off with involves just that time. And it's one of those stories that I hope that somebody else in this room, I know that all 3 of you have stories like this. If you play a game long enough, you get to see what we call the vision. The vision that somebody wrote years and years ago finally come to fruition. And in Nero, Chicago, a chapter that was around for 19 years, 19 real years, had something called Old Hadron and the Creeper. When the chapter started, when the chapter started, the storyline was a simple, we are in a normal land, things are happening, by the way, the capital of the land used to be over there, it's an necropolis, we don't remember why. Alright, so we walked over there and died. As you do. Well, 15 years later, and this is a real 15 years, every year that story would progress a little bit, to the point where we were learning exactly what had happened to this necropolis that had ruled the entire world at one point. This necropolis where the princess was a beautiful maiden and the high priest, or the wizard in this case, was madly in love with her, but he couldn't have her, so he opened up a gateway to the stars to share the universe with her. But her, being the princess, realized that she couldn't just leave her people unattended like that, and left him at the precipice of his magic, and that caused the backlash, causing all this stuff.
Wait, you're telling me that Nero Chicago is responsible for the Celestial Dawn?
The Celestial Dawn, is that what you guys call it?
That is what they are known by national plot. You are responsible for the Celestial Dawn.
That was written by Nick Denny and Steve Chikine in 19-something.
I hate you.
Oh, you should. Well, here's the beautiful thing about a LARP. We write stories, but you don't write stories like a book. You guys write plot.
Yeah, we're novelists.
You can't write a story like a book, because here's what happens. You go, here's the beginning of my story. And then somebody shits on your book. And they turn the page and they like rub it in. And then they hand it back to you and they say, it's bedtime, read me a story. And you're nearsighted, so you've got to put the book right.
And then you gotta put your glasses on because you can't read shit without your glasses.
No, absolutely good. Very good.
Nice. Well played.
15 years of a storyline. The only change that they ever had to make with it was they never actually gave us a villain. All the characters mentioned in the story were dead, so they decided all of the nobles in Old Hadron, this thing that burst out, this necrotic energy, turned all the nobles into war witches, a class that had never seen before. And if you looked, for a decade, in our monster manual, all it said under the war witch was, make it look like this has stats, period, women. Very things. And the whole point was because sometimes you played video games, sometimes you're not supposed, it was the go to bed. You never encountered them. The only way you would see them is if you went there. We persisted. This was never a solvable storyline, but we persisted. And 15 years into this, we finally had the fog of Old Hadron receded. And we finally found out what was controlling them. These were greater war liches. What could possibly be bigger than greater war liches? And that answer was an undead star. That undead star was known as the Creeper. I was playing Keldrak Livtungdug, a half-ogre at the time. I was the comedy relief of the game, but I had come with 30 friends and demanded nobility and won a war, so now I was a noble who ate mashed potatoes without the use of a fork, and I threw them at Steve because he was being an asshole. I found it funny, he did not, and he sent a greater war lich into town, and that lit a fire under our asses. We decided it was time. And on Halloween night of 2007 or 2008, we called every Nero chapter, every chapter that I had played at, my friends had played at, and we had an event with about 200 people there. And I will never forget it as long as I live, because there we were standing in a field. Nero Chicago had 4 football fields worth of field. It was beautiful. It was the right place to run a LARP. And we stood in a line. There were 125 of us versus what we knew to be 75 PCs that were about to come out of the forest line.
You mean NPCs?
Oh, you haven't talked about NPCs?
No, you might have NPCs.
You said PCs, not
I'm sorry, NPCs, my bad. The bad guys. We're waiting for them to come out. And as we're standing there, some asshole wants to park his car in the field. And we're standing over there, and here come these giant headlights. We're like, oh my God, oh, we're so in the zone. Are those eyeballs? There's a difference between daytime LARPing and nighttime LARPing, and that is what we like to say, the night is forgiving. During the day, I could look on this creature and say it was a tractor with a trailer behind it and a bunch of stuff on the side. But at night, we were fighting a giant mechanical cockroach that was inhabited by the spirit of an undead star. And this thing ran out onto the field versus 125 of us, and we scattered. I was the battle commander, and I lost total control as my first order was, cool. The physical battle lasted for 5 hours. It started when the sun went down and lasted until 2 or 3 in the morning when we finally figured out what this thing's weakness was. Some of the NPCs were representing legs. The legs had a 1-minute regen time, but there was a person up top keeping track of everything. So if we killed all 6 legs at once, it would stop the tractor from moving. Once the tractor stopped moving, we found a way to get into the beast itself, which was properly fist-ripped.
You had the pain in the ass, didn't you?
You know this story!
Yeah.
The Creeper, which was brought about because I threw mashed potatoes in my good friend Steve's face, had an anal cavity. Apparently, you can buy black garbage bags that are 30 or 40 feet long. He also found out that it was 2 for 1 on butterscotch pudding. And Keldrak Livtungdug, the half-ogre that took over all of Weston, crawled 30 feet with 4 people, I did not know this, 4 people on the outside making sure I was still moving and didn't suffocate. Crawled through this, up onto the shelf, into the cart, fought off a few guys by myself while other people were trying to... I'm not a good fighter. I role play. I love the art of the game. I have never been a good fighter. But in that moment, it did not matter because I was covered in pudding and they couldn't stop laughing. And in the end, we struck the final blow against this creature. And I like this story for 2 reasons. One, 15 years of a story was monumental to us at the time. But 2, when I was standing out in that field and we realized what was happening, when that creature got closer to us, this is something I hope every one of you get to experience. I was not Alkali, I was not Dan, I wasn't a guy standing in a field with a bunch of yellow makeup on his face holding a plastic sword. I was Keldruk for a second, and I was fighting something that was going to fucking murder me. And for a moment, nothing else mattered, and that game was 100% real. And if you ever find a game with storytellers like that, I guarantee you right now, you will never leave it. Ever.
www.epicadventuresllc.com.
Yes, we're trying.
Also, butterscotch is delicious if you lick it off yourself after a long battle.
The spoils of war.
So, Alkali, I think the only way I can top that story is by telling you why they call me Captain No.
Captain No.
Captain No. I'm actually going to stand up for this. So, we mentioned
You're a
earlier.
rapist, super.
No.
Oh, shit, you get it.
Do you
No.
have packets?
I don't have
You don't have
packets.
packets? Oh, okay. So we have a story that's not quite as impressive as Alkali's story, because it involves some mechanics. So at Fables, we are battling the Unicorn of War. The Unicorn of War, I want you to imagine a unicorn dedicated towards undeath and war. He's an asshole. We love him. His name is Vithar. He doesn't like magic. He finds it to be fluffy. He's just Vithar. And Vithar comes into town and goes, hey, so you guys kind of screwed up the time stream, and I'm supposed to have been dead for 4,000 years, but now I'm back, and I'm very confused. Very sorry about that, Vithar. What can you do? So I'm going to send an army of undead at you, and I want you to kill them, and by that war and all that death and destruction, I should become all fully powered again.
Seems legit.
Seems perfectly reasonable. You're
No way this could go
you
wrong.
are, so in Fables, the 5 unicorns, magic, war, darkness, light, and nature, are gods. The
Except
gods
God.
have been dead for 4,000 years. We accidentally sort of opened up a time fissure and they came back at the moment before their death and are now living again.
Why is it the worse of a thing that you do, the more of an accident it turned out to be?
It was not my fault! Just because... Okay, it was my fault.
There you
It's
go.
always
I got it.
my fault.
Here, most of my best stories include the phrase, it was a big misunderstanding.
And
Mistakes were made.
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue this one.
Yeah.
So Vithar comes out with his army of undead. Now this is the night can be forgiven. They have painted themselves with skulls. I'm recasting part of this story. You know the real story, but I'm recasting part of it.
Okay.
He was there. He was actually one of Vithar's giant undead.
Oh, nice.
Painted and terribly. And I have achieved, my character is level 41. I have achieved a skill called Exalted Form. All of a sudden I transform into the paragon of my character's race. I suddenly become stronger, faster, mightier. And I get to say no a lot. No is the magical word that I get to say for, that didn't happen. No, that really didn't happen. No, that really didn't happen. I'm telling you it didn't happen. I can say this approximately 114 times every 12 hours.
And I'm going to interject here. This is because of a variety of different skills, including you have a certain number of dodge. He has certain things that allow him to do phase, which means I go D-solid for a second and stuff just goes right through me. He has a certain amount of things. What does it reflect? You have a bunch of?
I have reflex, I have ricochets, I have absorptions, I literally have a list of all my character sheet that says things I can do to not get hit.
And all this known is an amalgamation, and basically different skills are going to be useful against different attacks, and that's how he has all the know.
So I've set the stage. The people of Treedale, and my little cousin is there. She's there as well as her elf. Yep, you're going to get embarrassed by this story. We're sitting on our stage, and Vithar said, you have to survive. If you survive, everything will be fine. If you die, I'm sorry, but you'll just join my army in your afterlife. This is not good. I don't want to become an undead skeleton of war forever. So we're all kind of paranoid, because Vithar's army, Vithar is the god of the undead. Great! Normal undead are easy. Not when the god creates them himself. So, these 13 people come out dressed as various skeletons. We've got ones that are casting battle magic of destruction, doing over 50 points of damage in a single spell, which 50 is a lot, by the way. I, at level 40, have 43 hit points. A 50-point damage spell kind of hurts. We have their soldiers coming out with 2 long swords. It's looking pretty impressive. And the human and I, he's only human, but it's okay. In this game, humans are kind of dumb. They're just cattle for vampires. They're kind of dumb. It's okay.
It's been a conspiracy to purposely make them that way.
They come. The army comes marching out, and we hear greater war transform, which means they have gone from being normal undead to mommy. We're all going mommy. And I am, as I said, that moment where you forget that you are an actual person or someone else. Yes. We all kind of became that character. It's contagious. Once one person really falls into their character, everyone around them just starts falling deeper and deeper into the characters, and you forget that you are swinging plumbing supplies, and that you're throwing bird seed, and that you just become that moment. And the first thing, one of our NPCs comes out. She's in Core Nero. She is a deadly caster. It is the player behind Garnet, the Unicorn of Life. Yeah, in Core. She comes out and she just begins. She looks at me, and the first thing I hear is arcane death. That spell, arcane, means there are no defenses for it, and death is you just drop dead. And the first thing she hears is phase, and she looks at me. Eyes narrow, her skeletal makeup just contorting the skull on her face. And I smile and just... I have no weapons out, I have no shield, I have a giant bag mounted on my body, and the next thing she sees me reach into my bag and just piles of birdseed packets in my hand, and she starts hearing 10 elemental fire, 10 elemental fire, 10 elemental fire, 10 elemental fire. I'm saying 10 elemental fire. To imagine the imagery, what I'm seeing in my head are fireballs literally shooting out of my fingertips every second I'm saying that. And she is just going, because I'm hitting her. And she just falls, she crumples to the ground like dust. Because she actually just crumpled, because she's like, you just hit me 14 times in the row in the head. I'm disoriented and dizzy. She actually had significantly more hit points, but she was dizzy. This goes on for 4 hours. That I'm running around casting 10s all the time. It's annoying him. And eventually they finally get me to stand still. And then he swings at me.
Allow me to demonstrate the swings that I proceeded to hit him with, all right? Now, for reference, there is a type of damage you call that is massive. Massive doesn't matter what I hit. I hit his weapon, I hit his shield, doesn't matter. He takes it straight to his body.
It hurts.
I am done with this guy by now. 20 massive, 20 massive, 20 massive.
Resonate physical sleep, taking his healing 50.
Okay.
In my transformed state, if someone casts a healing spell on me, I'm healed for 50 points. I can do that endlessly.
In Nero, there's a skill called Slay. Slay is you make the call, prepare to die, so that people know what's coming, and then you swing your damage type with 100 damage. So, there's also Cleave,
which is 5 of them.
Is 5 of them.
Consecutively.
Prepare to die, Cleave, 100 magic slay, 100 magic slay, 100 magic slay, 100 magic slay, 100 magic slay.
Resist, phase, dodge. Now I don't even blink.
I want to take over this part.
This is the first time they do this in the same fight.
Jana has gotten back up, is no longer dizzy, has regenerated at the skull. It's a thing. She has come back up beside me. She looks at him and goes, "You never go down! Arcane death, arcane death, arcane death, arcane death, arcane death, arcane obliterate."
Arcane
Obliterate
Future
is
5
3
Flash.
deaths at once.
And then there's Arcane Future 5 Flash, Arcane Death, Arcane Death, Arcane Death, Arcane Death. I got the third one. I ran out of defenses at the third one because I couldn't recast them fast enough. Everyone's standing there in mortal terror.
No, I have to compliment the players. There were war trials throughout the weekend. There were things they had to do as part of this extended ritual to repower the unicorn. So they failed one. They failed one because we did it on a dirt road leading into and out of camp. We chalk marked 2 lines. The players had to learn to hold a battle line. They had to, Roman formation, stand there and not let us by. And they had to hold it for 30 minutes. We got down to 7 minutes. we all went, we're walking straight at their line, like stupids. All right, here's their line. We line up this way and proceed to go by. The mechanic of the fight is if we walk past the far line, we win. Event mod over. If they walk too far past their forward line, they lose. It's they have to hold it. We just went ba-doop, 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 ba-doop.
We don't care how big or bad you are at Fable, you will go down. So that's my funny story. But in that moment, I'm terrified because I've never actually had someone throw a death storm at me. Later that same fight, I got back up. They of course, I'm one of their bigger fighters, so they life me, and I'm back up. I'm like, oh, that's inconvenient. So I walk out to the front line again, and I pull out a scroll from my bag. I'm like, and by the power of the mountain and the element of stone, I call forth the mountain stance. Which is a spell that literally now I can't move. I'm stuck to the floor. Literally, I can't move unless I want to break it. Anything less than 21 damage swung at me at a time, I don't take.
Threshold 20.
Threshold 20. I had 10 of those. I counted. They expire in 2021. 20 massive. Threshold.
Threshold.
So, Deanna, the woman you were talking about earlier, walks in front of me. She is this far away. Goes, death storm. Death, 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 death,
Lunch.
death.
Lunch.
Death after tea.
That's our story of us dying repeatedly.
Would you?
Well,
Oh, go, no, please.
I was going to say, because they've been kind of talking about how fun it is to play Nero, and I will agree, it's a lot of fun. But let me rap with you folks a little bit. It's also fun being an NPC. This is another way to have fun at Nero, and here's a wonderful thing about it. This is kind of like my selling pitch for join the side of villainy. We have cookies. Sometimes, or sometimes we have hot dogs, but whatever.
Or muffins with hot dogs in them.
Yes, there's that too. But to NPC is a great try it before you buy it thing because it doesn't cost anything. You can come, be an NPC, get a feel for the system, and you're actually helping out the game because you're making even more monsters for these players to fight.
It's like being a volunteer at a convention.
Well, no, it's actually a little better because yes, there are demands on your time. Yes, you do have to sometimes be, I'm crunchy number 47. Let me go down, I'll go around, and then I'll come back as crunchy number 55. Lather, rinse, repeat. But this leads to some wonderful opportunities to chew the scenery. This leads to some wonderful opportunities to make life difficult for your friends. This leads to wonderful opportunities to be sitting there when they're thinking, okay, we've just been thrown a curveball by the players, and then say, but what if we do this to them now? And have everyone look at you and go, that's good, let's keep going and do some collaborative writing and then go out as either crunchies or scenery chewers and make life difficult for your friends.
How many of you are sadists?
God damn it, Asher.
Join us.
The thing is as an NPC, you get to beat up the players, and at the end, they thank you.
Yes.
It is
Gentlemen,
like being a master.
Would you allow me to take this panel in a slightly different direction for a moment? Because we are forgetting something that I know the second I say it, we're all like, all right.
Yeah.
Or maybe you even started with it and I was here for it. We, really quick, how many years have you played?
6.
6.
5-ish or 6, 5 to 6, somewhere around there.
I'm about 20 years right now. Guys, we at that point, 6 years, 5 years, you're playing that game at this level. You're playing the game with every call. Let's rewind it. What about when you started?
Oh, can I do that one first because I started at Core?
Go for it.
So Core Nero, as we mentioned earlier, is the international game of international plotline. It's not Fables. Fables is a variant game, its own world. In Core Nero, when I started, you started at level 2.5.
Yep.
I walk onto my first event, and the average level of everyone else there is 93.
Oh.
Where the fuck did you play? Sorry, where the hell did you
It was
I said, oh.
It was correct.
Okay.
It was the Carafe Winter Social, and all of Ravenholt was there. And the
okay.
Ravenholt's combined average at the time of level was 142.
I didn't realize where you were at. My fault.
Yes, I'm level 2. I have 4 spells. It's awful. It's also warmer outside than it was in the tavern. It was negative 15 degrees in the tavern. It was not pleasant. I'm at my first event. Our other husband took me, and everyone thought I was a long-time LARPer. I'm a long-time Scadian, so I have clothes that make most LARPers go, I wants to touch. Because I have nice clothes for LARP. It's scary. And my first experience is I'm literally falling down if I get poked by an NPC because I have 4 hit points total. Literally poke and I fall over dead.
This is why Fables made the job board.
Yes. 2 days after my first event, starting level was raised to level 4.
So
They didn't adjust me.
I'm going to take it a little bit different here. So, and yes, don't get me wrong. That is a major exception to the rule. He went to an insanely high-level game to start it off. As a plot person, there is no more of a challenge than knowing that you have this gentleman over here who is the highest level person in the entire game, and this person over here who it's their first event. And it is our job as plot, as NPCs, as Monster Squad, to make the event fun for all of them, but every once in a while something so majestic happens that we didn't have to. And that experience for me was Telforge Gorge. Telforge Gorge was one of my plot lines. I had written it. It was about 4 or 5 years of plot, and all it was, you know what the Illithids are? Squid face?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You might know them as Illithid, Squid face, or Mind Flayers, the word I'm looking for. We were using that creature. They had opened a portal to our world. Their world had run out of resources. This was how they were getting the resources. That portal called Telforge Gorge. Okay, fine. Well, it was a season closer. They were going after what they found out to be a skull pile with an enchanted skull in the middle, and this skull let the Illithids rift, that means teleport, in unlimited times per day. An ability that is so broken that is why these things were so powerful. They were rifting hundreds of miles away and then walking back. They could rift out, but they couldn't rift back. PCs found this out and went in, and I was told 5 minutes before the module, all right, everyone in town is going, including the brand new player. Like, all right, okay. We changed everything. How are we going to do this? We've got a gentleman, like you said, if we breathe on him, he's going to die. So we changed the stats of a few of our creatures and made sure that they knew who he was so that this gentleman could get a little bit of feel for the game. We wanted him to have a good time. And he did not need our help. This child, he was 20. He was a child to us. This child went out there. The first thing he did was went around to every player and said, oh, do you guys have any potions? Yeah. Well, like, I'm not going to be able to help in the fight. Do you want to give me all of your potions and I'll just take care of that? He was there. He was better than the 30th level healers. He was Johnny, and I thought people were cheating. But all it was this kid who was going around and just, oh, that guy's down, la la la, Cure Light, are you okay? All right, snack cookie. At one point, I called a hold for unrelated reasons, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is really bad. Is something going on? I'm like, all right, guys, hold. We've got a thing over here. Really quick, could everyone pull tags? That means update your spell sheets. If you've used an item, if it's a one-use, give it to a plot guy. One of my plot guys comes walking over to me with his hands full of Cure Mortal Wounds potions. He's like, this is from the 3rd level kid.
I have a story actually in this vein. When you're done.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So all of that aside, because once again, I'm talking to you about him using high-level items. The high levels gave him items, but that's not the part of the story I will remember. The part I remember is the final encounter. As a plot person, my job is to cause chaos. This is the final battle of the year. We're done. We're not going to see each other for 3 months. We want this to be memorable. I was playing one of the Illithid lords. It's actually called a Hexmaster. If I kill you and have 3 seconds You will never be able to be healed again. That's it. Your character doesn't die, but you have to wait till the sun rises in the morning to get any healing, and you can only get it once that day. It destroys your character. It's a wonderful thing to do, and there's a quest to get rid of it. They all wanted to kill me, and they are all gunning for me. But once again, going back to the high-level stuff, if you want to survive in a game with all these people, the stats that they gave me were ridiculous, going back to his story. Dodge phase, dodge death, dodge prison, yeah, fuck you. That's how it works. Now, I am a very large man. You guys did not have spell packets.
No, we did not.
The way you carry spell packets is this. They are a bag of birdseed with a little tail. So you take that and you put it between your fingers, and you put another one and another one. I have incredibly large hands. I had what we call a cauliflower blossom.
I am known as broccolini.
Broccolini, yes, exactly. So they saw me with this. I'm taller, I can see over my back. My secondary head of plot is playing another guy with a blossom of spell packets. This battle was meant to kill. But what happened was pure chaos. Their line broke, our line broke. I'm looking for guys to protect me because I'm still a caster. I may have a lot of defenses, but if all of them converge on me, I'm dead. All of my guys are broke, but all of the good guys are broke too. So now it's just the game of running around the field and murdering my friends. And I had just thrown my last in prison. I looked down at my hand and I have 2 packets left. Now we keep a bucket. An orange Home Depot bucket of spell packets. And I look, and it's probably where that door is. All right. I'm a large gentleman. Most of the people in my game know I play a caster because I don't run very well. And I looked at my hand, I saw the 2 packets. I looked at the battlefield. The battle's 50-50. And I looked and I saw the kid. And the kid is looking at me. And then he looked at the bucket. And I looked at my hand, and I looked at the kid. And we ran towards the bucket as fast as we could. And that son of a bitch slid and grabbed the bucket and threw it. And I looked down at my 2 remaining packets. Like, no. Rift. And I rifted the kid out. And every PC, seeing that I had 1 spell packet in my hand, once again, I'm not a fighter, I'm usually a caster. They converged, they killed me. And the kid is laying there on the ground. His body, a rift means I teleported him. He's gone. He's got his hand in his head. He's laying on the ground. He has the biggest grin on his face. And I help him out. Dude, that was amazing. He goes, dude, you're my bitch. The moral of the story is, yes, we play high-level characters. Yes, part of the beauty of the game is dodge, phase, resist, slay, dodge, gotta die. That's wonderful, and it's a great high-level game. But you don't need it.
No, you don't.
First-level players, second-level players, there are those moments that make it beautiful, and I will never forget the look on his face when he made me his bitch.
So I'm going to tell one last story. It's going to go over time by just a couple minutes, so I apologize to the people behind us. This is actually Boozy and QM, and they're one of their lovely children, LARPs with us now at Fables, epicadventuresllc.com. And this is actually this is the story of her first event. At Fables, you start at level 5.5, and she is brand new, and she's coming, and our plot team wrote a mod specifically for people under level 7. It was adorable, but they needed what we call a babysitter. Alkali's running away.
I have another panel. I'm so sorry.
Bye.
Guys, have a good time at this one.
Alkali's running away.
I have another panel. I'm
So I will finish the story, then I'll let everyone leave, or they'll wrap up. And my husband hears me on the mod. I'm the babysitter. That means in the out of game, I have been told, please come and watch them to make sure they don't die. You're a very powerful healer. I'm like, okay. And the NPCs were not briefed that I was going to be the babysitter. So they hear my voice as we're coming up to the mod site to go fight evil plants. and they start screaming because they're going to be swinging 2s. So swinging 2s means they're swinging 2 damage. And we were bringing people under level 10. They're level 5 to 7. They panic. And then immediately the first thing they do is one of our new players runs up, and and the plant swings 20 massive. No! I'm at the back, and I'm like, ugh. And I just heal the player. And they realize, oh, you're standing at the back. I'm like, I'm the babysitter. And it was important about that panel is while they all knew I was their babysitter, I didn't make them feel like they were being babied. I made it feel like, no, I'm here so you can have a good time. And did you have a good time at that one? Killing plants? Especially when I hit it with weakness so it couldn't even hurt you because it was swung for zeros. That's another thing.
Zero normal. Zero normal. Why won't you die?
Going with Alkali, that is one of the important things. Is that we'll tell you stories of high-level adventure. Some of my favorites are when I was level 10. And when I was looking at things going, I'm gonna die. And somebody swooped in and saved me. And that's why the character I play says a lot of no's, is because I like going out with the little guys and going, nope, I am here to make sure you have fun. Go annihilate it. Why? Because it can't hurt me. So, all right, that's my end.
Once again, the game is called Fables, epicadventuresllc.com.
And if you mention that Anthrocon is how you found out about us, we will give you a free pat on the back, and it comes with wonderful, wonderful features such as, well, the staff knows that furries love them. Because we love furries.
Indeed.
Silver Gatoman, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gatoman, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gatoman, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.